little kids waking up their parents. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a beautiful day in the neighborhood. The birds are chirping, lawnmowers cutting, barbecue burning, dead animals. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a fishing day. It's such a wonderful day. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a gorgeous day. It's such a happy day. It's such a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful and quiet, and it was really windy and kind of overcast when I woke up.
Yeah, so that's why we're not outside, because it's cold and flu season, man.
Yes, cold and flu season.
I can't hear any traffic. It's too quiet. I have to like put on CNN in the background or some crap.
Yeah, our triple pane windows keep all the noise out.
Triple pane.
So, triple pane. So we spent the last week in New Orleans. We had a great time. And we were blissfully ignorant of what was going on with Trump and the rest of the news and the world. And, you know, I kind of glanced at it a little bit when we were getting ready to leave. And it was pretty much, you know, same shit, different day. I mean, this, you know, the impeachment moves on. No, there hasn't been, you know, a Republican senator or a House member, for that matter, who's had some, like, revelation. You know, people are just entrenched in, you know, what they've always believed. His supporters, you know, believe what they believe, no matter what comes out. And, you know, the people who don't like him, like myself, I'm going to pounce on, you know, every tiny thing that comes out. So I don't think we've gone anywhere. The House of Republicans in the House published some sort of report, like a 123-page report, saying that, you know, there's no first-hand information, there's no hard evidence, and they're not even. Well, no, they're not even saying that anymore. They're saying that it's okay, and that's how people do. Because now that it's been proven that there was a quid pro quo, and Trump's own people, like Gordon Sondland, are saying, yeah, I believe it was a quid pro quo. Even they interviewed the president of Ukraine, and he was saying, like, he was talking smack against Trump, and he was saying, I think it was to Time magazine, and he was saying, like, you don't just, you know, withhold funds. So, I mean, everybody is now aware that it was a quid pro quo, so they're moving the goalposts back and now saying that it's okay. And, you know, he's so concerned about corruption that he wanted to ask a country that he believes is corrupt to investigate a political rival. I don't know why that strikes them as making some sort of sense. If he's that worried about corruption, why would he ask them to investigate a rival? So I don't see it go anywhere. Like, you know, the Republicans that were against him are still against him. You know, like Mitch McConnell, for example. Lisa Murkowski, you know, would probably vote to remove him. But they've always felt that way, and everybody else just kind of, I don't even know what to say. And then I'm looking at social media, and there was a recent article about how the next appeals court that, you know, Trump was currently appealing to has also ruled that his bank has to reveal his tax info. And so I'm looking at people's comments. You know, it was just a Facebook thing. So I'm looking at people's comments, and, you know, they're the Trump haters, the Trump supporters, like they're everywhere. And somebody goes, no other president has ever had to show his tax returns. Leave him alone. And it's like, how do you even argue with that? Like, what do you even say? I think most people, whether you support him or whether you don't support him, we're mostly in agreement that every president since Nixon has shown his tax returns. Like, who is this fool saying no other president? Like, are they? I don't even. I'm done.
I make great use of the Maury GIF these days. It says the lie detector says that was a lie. It's more. I post that on all of Trump's tweets. I post that in all of his supporters' comments. And the thing is, when you go toe to toe with his reporter or his supporters on Facebook on these pages, you start to recognize the bots after a while. Yeah. There's certain talking points. Like that whole 123-page Republican report was just them repeating their talking points. I don't know how they stretched it out for 123 pages.
I understand how they keep you can't insist that there's no quid pro quo, and then a month later say it's not a big deal. You just have
it's gonna bite him in the ass. And I don't know if this happened before our show, before we took our break, but it bears discussing. So, our two of our Republican holdouts here in California. We don't have a whole lot of seats for the Republicans. But Nunes, you remember Nunes, he was a guy that every time he got his chance to speak, he talked about the witch hunt and Ukraine scandal, and he repeated about the Bidens and all that. Every single time he went on and on and on. Well, now one of those Ukrainians that got caught up with Giuliani, well, they say that they funneled that dirty campaign money into his campaign, amongst others. But that's one we found out that they were funneling money to. And then this other dude, I don't even remember his name, but one of the last ones left in Orange County. Like we took Orange County, which is Nunes. Yeah. We took Orange County when we took the House, and it's the reddest, traditionally one of the reddest parts of California. But there was still at least one in there, and he started getting investigated for campaign, or I guess fraud, like misusing campaign money for personal stuff, vacations, expensive dinners, for his family, that kind of stuff. Embezzlement, I guess that would be. And he called it a witch hunt when they came after him. Well, now he's pleading guilty. And I heard this little interesting thing. First of all, he said he's pleading guilty so that his children won't be exposed to a trial. But then they said this other thing, just at the end of the story. They didn't say X. They said his wife was going to testify against him. Marta's in her phone right now. I was waiting to... Do you hear that? Yeah. They said his wife was going to testify against him, not ex-wife. The dude... No. Okay. The dude in Orange County who embezzled campaign funds,
the guy who
called it a witch hunt. Now he's pleading guilty. They said at the end of the story that his wife was going to testify against him, not ex-wife. They said his wife. That's got to be huge. His wife. No.
Yeah, right.
Kind of the whole thing.
I married you, so you can't be compelled to testify against.
That's why I married you. Sneaky bitch.
But yeah, and I said something. I'm like, so the term witch hunt is the new code word for I did it. Yeah. Because everybody who says anything's a witch hunt ends up, either pleading guilty or being found guilty. And just this whole thing about, I still can't get over this. We've spoken about it before, but just this, all of a sudden there was this, they started talking about how Ukraine meddled in the elections. It's like they weren't saying anything 6 months ago. They weren't saying anything a year ago. All of a sudden, now that all this is going on, they've decided that Ukraine meddled in the election. And a lot of these politicians, not all of them, but a lot of them are backing that and using that. There was, I don't even remember his name, one of the senators of Louisiana. I don't remember if that was Kennedy. or somebody else, but he was repeating the Ukraine, that they meddled in the election, and so the guy, he was on some news show. I don't remember if it was Como or who it was, but so the anchor on the news show was saying how Fiona Hill, the top expert on Russia, testified that it's a fantasy to say that Ukraine did it instead of Trump. And so this guy from the news, pointed out to the senator, and the senator goes, "Well, Dr. Hill is certainly entitled to her opinion." And the guy, the news, you can see his blood boiling. Like the guy, he's like, "When does opinion become fact? What does it take? Like, she knows more than anybody else." And she said it's just this like nonsensical fantasy that Ukraine had anything to do with it. And they're like, why haven't we been talking about this for years? Like, all of a sudden it's Ukraine. They had this huge revelation.
And they talk a lot about lack of due process. If this was a court of law and such a witness came in, her testimony would be expert testimony and would be considered fact. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like it's not just stupid rednecks in the red states. Like, it's politicians who I would like to give them some credit for, like, knowing the difference between right and wrong, at least, but they're going along with this. So, like, how can you blame the guy with the third grade education and no teeth if, like, his senator is saying the same thing?
Yeah, and now those Ukrainians are going to flip, and we're going to start finding out who got the money. So it's all about these Ukrainians taking money from other countries, laundering it, and then funneling it into... Igor or something. Yeah, Parnas and Igor.
Parnas is the main guy that they talk about more. He's getting ready to roll because and then we might have covered this last time, but he's kind of offended that Trump denies ever knowing him. Apparently, he was like pretty close to Trump, and he's kind of mad that Trump is distant.
He's butthurt. Trump should understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, he surrounds himself with the same type of people. Trump will be butthurt.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then there's this whole, this is kind of off the subject, but Prince Andrew is kind of embroiled in this scandal because he was associated with Jeffrey Epstein, and there's some woman who's an adult now who's suing, and I actually saw her picture. She went on camera. She's saying that she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew at Epstein's compound, and of course Prince Andrew was denying it all. And Trump was trying to distance himself from Prince Andrew, saying like he doesn't know the guy, but there's all these like intimate pictures. And when I say intimate, I'm not saying like naked, but there's pictures of Trump and Prince Andrew shaking hands, but they're like really like, looking at each other, and their faces are really close together. It's not something where it's just some like political photo op that they have to take. Like, it looked like there was a lot of familiarity in the picture.
Well, the question remains, who killed Epstein? Was it the prince? Was it Trump? Was it Clinton? The whole list of people that had the motive.
Was he found hanged in his cell? Or was it
yeah, they said it was hanged, but then there was that separate autopsy that said it was strangulation. It wasn't hanging.
He said the breaks in his neck were inconsistent with hanging.
Trump just lost an appeal that the House can subpoena his Deutsche Bank financial records. Yeah, and just yesterday or the day before, we got back from New Orleans, so I'm starting to read some news and catch up. The guy that they said was Trump's personal banker at Deutsche Bank, well, he just committed suicide.
Yeah, and I didn't see that anywhere, so I don't know why nobody's. I believe you, but I don't know. I know, but I was just looking at my own news sources looking for that, and nobody's covering it for some reason. I think it's significant. But I don't know what else we were talking about. Oh, you're looking for the story? Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's dropping like flies, and you still have the Senate and the House Republicans defending him. because they're more concerned about their reelection than they are about the country, and that's, the biggest problem. I mean, they should all be tried for treason. It's like you can't side with like a straight up criminal that you maybe secretly agree that he's a straight up criminal and not fit to be president, but to just pretend that you support him in order for your own, political gain. I don't know, who does that? Well, they do that.
So, former douche bank executive, connected to Trump loans, dies by suicide in Malibu. Former Deutsche Bank executive who reportedly signed off on some of the institution's unorthodox loans to Donald Trump killed himself in his Malibu home on November 19th. Thomas Bowers, the one-time head of Deutsche Bank American Wealth Management Division, where he oversaw Trump's private bank. Oh, he oversaw Trump's private banker. Committed suicide by hanging. How they gonna do it? Gonna hang them all?
Well, the other thing.
So he didn't kill himself.
Even if that actually happened, which I don't believe, but just hypothetically, let's just say that happened. Somebody dropped the ball. He was supposed to be under watch 24 hours a day. And
Epstein, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's, the guards are in trouble because they just, I don't know.
Charged with something.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't do their job. And whoever did it, like, it wouldn't have happened if the guards were doing their job. The other thing, there was a camera there that was, like fixed on his cell or whatever. The camera happened to not be working. What's up with that? Like, you're going to put such a high-profile person in jail who's on suicide watch and needs to be watched by guards 24/7, and you're going to have a broken camera?
In any real scenario, that camera would have had a regular check. You'd be checking it at regular times and have a maintenance schedule.
Knowing that the camera's broken, you're going to go out of your way to make sure you're watching him because the camera can't. So, I don't know. Did they get paid off to look the other way? Maybe
Yes.
one of them even got paid to do it. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what happened. It's not even a good hit. Yeah. I don't believe it. It's, like this guy right here. It's like, really? That guy just happened. So there's people that just happen to have something really bad on fucking Trump. They just dropping, or they're hanging themselves because they don't want to have to roll on Trump. I guess, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. What more can you say?
Mobster in chief.
You think he's gonna take it this court thing with the taxes? He's gonna take it to the Supreme Court.
His Supreme Court, and
so he's got 2 judges on there, and I'm sure the other 3 will fall in line. I mean,
RBG keeps having sick days and stuff.
Yeah. It's just a mess. Someday we'll look back on this and laugh when we're like on death's doorstep, but I don't know. Hopefully it'll be better for our kid.
I guess they just released the House Intelligence Report on impeachment, accusing Trump of misconduct and obstruction. So I just want to put it out there so I don't forget. I'm sure a lot of people already know about this, but Kamala Harris is withdrawing from the race. And also, Pete Buttigieg, I mean, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I will vote for anybody who wins the nomination. Like, I don't even care. But, Buttigieg is up, by a significant amount in Iowa. And Iowa matters, like that's where they do the first caucus and everything. But he's not ahead in any other polls. He's not even second in any other polls. And I'm just not sure what the point is. Like, I don't think he's going to win. And I don't remember the details. Well, I didn't read the details, but he's having some issues with the African American community. He can't seem to win them over.
I think he said something disparaging.
I heard the original quote, and I really think they're twisting it out of. Because I can almost quote him. He says, I have never been judged and persecuted for the color of my skin. However, as a gay man, I have suffered persecution. Something to, I don't want to be like Schiff and, say I'm misquoting. But he let in that way. He let in, they're saying that he compared himself to the struggle of African Americans. And he had a caveat when he went in. He had a lead in to shooting that down before he opened his goddamn mouth. As a gay man, he absolutely has been persecuted. People get so fucking bent out of shape. It's like people are shat upon and persecuted in this world for various things. For their sex, for their sexual persuasion, for the color of their skin, for their fucking money in their fucking bank account. Just because somebody has suffered persecution doesn't mean that your ancestors didn't. It doesn't take away from your side of the fence's, persecution. And it's like this, it seems like people are in a fucking contest when these kind of things come up. It's like, okay, yeah, he's a white man. Yes, he's a white man. He's a white man that's openly gay. You're gonna catch some shit about that. I don't buy it. I heard the quote. I heard the lead in. I think he was, probably trying to use that to make some connections with the African American community, but he was not comparing himself to them. It's getting twisted, but you're not doing that good. Anyways, and then fucking Biden. This whole thing with Ukraine and the stuff they keep trying to bring up, it ain't hurting Biden. He keeps going up in the fucking polls. Now Harris is out. I thought she was at least, a very strong woman up there. I liked, her angst.
I liked her too, but she just couldn't get out of fifth place for whatever reason. I mean, and I like Cory Booker as well. He's kind of hovering in that same area, like about fifth place. Buttigieg has made some gains, especially because of Iowa. And then, Warren, Bernie, and Biden, are always going to be in the top three. I mean, I like her, but it would have been a long shot for her to win. I think she's, really tough and could stand up to Trump pretty well, which is something that I really liked about her. I think she would mop the floor with his toupee in a debate. But, on the other hand, a lot of people are really overwhelmed by all the choices, and they wish that there were fewer candidates. So, at the end of the day, I don't know if I would have voted for her in the primary anyway. Of course, I would have voted for her if she won the primary, but there's just too many of them. And I think
this process is for.
I think Peter Young is still in there. He's not. I've heard a lot of really good things about him. People like him. I don't think he's gonna win. One of those people might be somebody's running mate. Like, I think Kamala Harris would be a great vice president. If whoever wins the primary taps her to run with them, I think that'll be a good ticket. So that's still, I'm sure the door's not closed on that right now, but it's kind of bittersweet. I liked her, but I don't reasonably see how she would have won the whole thing.
Oh, this morning when I was trying to take my nap, you were rudely mumbling about the news. Did you say somebody supported the invasion of Crimea?
Yeah,
who was
Carlson.
it? Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Just out of the fucking blue. Now is a good thing.
Well, Trump's
wow.
always, I'm trying to find it. Trump has always supported it, also. But I don't know if Carlson, because that's I should have saved this story. I could probably find it, but we can play some music if you want, and I'll find it.
And that is what we shall do.
I want you to meet my friend.
Don't take time to study the stitches.
So Trump's over at the NATO conference. He refused to testify in the impeachment hearings, and now he's in NATO, and he's
fighting with French.
Macron, for insulting NATO, and then Trump's complaining about NATO, and then in this whole time, the North American Treaty Organization, I believe it is, was about Russia, and they had what was their pact? They had like the Russian version. It was pretty much all the countries that Russia pretty much owned, all allied together against NATO. That's what NATO was founded on. And in that meeting, the one part that I fucking listened to, Trump's talking about how we get along with Russia, how we're friends with Russia. Inappropriate.
I read some article about how the French president used like a tactic that parents use with their toddlers, and it worked on Trump. So you know how Trump has never had it, or at least lately, he doesn't really have anything good to say about NATO, and says it's like not relevant and all this stuff. So then the French president started criticizing NATO, and then Trump turned around and said, NATO is the best thing that we have in this world. So he forced him to defend it by criticizing it. And the article said this tactic usually stops working by the time someone reaches 5, but it's working on Trump.
Oh dear. Okay, I definitely want to see that one. Oh.
Yeah, I don't remember. Well, I read it this morning. I think somebody posted it on social media. But I found that story where it says, Tucker Carlson goes there again, backs Russian invasion of Ukraine. The Fox News personality attacked MSNBC's Chuck Todd, claiming Vladimir Putin doesn't hate America as much as these people do. I'm going to read it. Fox News' Tucker Carlson went full-on Vladimir Putin comrade Monday, again, and sided with Russia in its violent confrontations with Ukraine, apparently including Russia's invasion and annexation of Crimea. Carlson said something similar a week ago, but then disavowed it within the hour. This time, Carlson made the leap as he railed against U.S. sanctions against Russia for its invasion of Crimea and for an ongoing deadly border war with Ukraine. Quote, I should say for the record that I'm totally opposed to these sanctions and I don't think we should be at war with Russia, a serious Carlson told Rep. Jim Jordan, our Ohio, on his program. Oh yeah, we all love Jordan. And I think we should probably take the side of Russia if we have to choose between Russia and Ukraine. He also wondered why Putin is, quote, so bad. In another jaw-dropper, Carlson insisted that Putin does not hate America as much as many of these people do, after he attacked MSNBC host Chuck Todd and, quote, the rest of the dummies. He criticized them for being incapable of speaking Russian. He accused Todd of going full Joe McCarthy for challenging Rep. Oh, okay, it is Kennedy. For challenging Rep. John Kennedy, R. Louisiana, who on Sunday pushed President Donald Trump's unfounded accusations that Ukraine interfered with U.S. elections. Jordan ducked any similar pro-Russia declaration. The smiling Republicans seem weirdly amused by Carlson's short proclamation. Ironically, Jordan has been trying to make a point that Trump is very tough on Russia. Carlson last week said that he wanted to side with Russia in its conflicts with Ukraine. Why shouldn't I root for Russia? Which I am, he said then. But 45 minutes later, he insisted he was joking. He said, of course I'm joking. I'm only rooting for America, he claimed. Twitter critics had a few observations to share about Carlson's positions with a bunch of tweets. Let's see. We've got some... Okay, that's the end of the story. We've got some sound bites that I can play, hopefully. Okay, so now my thing is...
Wow. Now we're getting they're all friendly with Russia. All right, let's hopefully we don't have a commercial.
I should say for the record, I'm totally opposed to these sanctions, and I don't think that we should be at war with Russia. And I think we should probably take the side of Russia if we have to choose between Russia and Ukraine. That is my view. But
yeah, but But oh my
No, I
God,
was talking to Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan's a back to
Yeah.
but,
wow.
Here's another one.
If you excluded debunked conspiracy theories, could any of these people actually tell you why Vladimir Putin is so bad? Why is he so bad? He's bad, Chuck Todd says. Okay. Speak slowly so I can understand. What makes Vladimir Putin worse than, I don't know, a whole long list of American allies? Let's try the King of Saudi Arabia, for example, or the people who run the Emirates, the people on whose payroll so many in Washington are right now. Why is he worse than them? They couldn't answer that. For Chuck Todd and the rest of the dummies, Vladimir Putin isn't a real person with actual ideas and priorities and a country and beliefs. No, he stopped being that long ago. He's a metaphor, a living metaphor. He's the boogeyman. Step out of line and you're a traitor in league with Vladimir Putin. Let's put his picture on the screen. Can we get his picture on the screen? Yeah, please. The irony, of course, is that Putin, for all his faults, does not hate America as much as many of these people do. They really dislike our country, and they call other people traitors because they're mouthing the talking points of Putin. These are people who don't know anything about Russia, who don't speak Russian, who couldn't identify 3 cities in Russia. The rest of the
Did it really just stop right there? I think it just stopped. My goodness. Yeah, there's that, election interference thing. Well, now they're not even. They're probably trying to mess with the election too, but I think they're just brainwashing the American people, and they're trying to start a civil war. The Russian press seems very consumed with the idea that America will be embroiled in a civil war and trying to start it.
And frankly, with some of the things I see posted on social media, I don't know what else could happen. I mean, I don't want a civil war. I have a little boy, but like, where else is it going to go? It's going to, and I'm sorry, but they started this with Obama. So they're just getting from us what they did to our guy. And there's so many strangers posts that I see being like, the Democrats are just fueled by so much hatred. I've never seen anything like this, and they're disrespecting our president, and if they don't like it, they can get out. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of hatred because there's nobody worse than he is, Yep. And I don't know how else it's going to get resolved, because even if Trump, let's say he loses next election, and Bernie wins or whatever, they're just going to say that it was rigged. They're not going to accept the new president. They won't. I don't see
And
this getting better.
Just this morning, when I was trying to take my nap, and you were over there reading the Trump people going back and forth with Democrats, just today, somebody said about Obama's birth certificate and that he is Kenyan and that his mom and his brother back in Kenya have the birth certificate.
Yeah. That's people are all of a sudden so it was a story about the taxes and how the newest court ruled that he has to, turn him over, or the banks have to turn him over. And somehow it devolved into an argument about Obama and whether or not he was born in the United States. And there's all these people who are, more than one, who are like, everybody knows he was born in Kenya. His grandmother and brother have the birth certificate. It's like, he wouldn't have... He's been in politics for many years. You don't think that would be discovered while he was running for president? People only started saying it after he won.
And back in the day, I heard about a father who still was back in Kenya. If he had other relatives still living in Kenya, I'm sure that would have come up. So this person, fucking years and years later, just pulled that out of their ass and sprinkled that on the top of the fucking cake.
And there was that fool. There's always that one fool who started talking about Hillary's emails.
God,
Yeah.
where they investigated. She didn't obstruct, and they didn't find shit.
And these were Republicans investigating her. They wanted to find something.
She showed up and she testified, and she didn't obstruct and didn't block anything. Yeah.
And I don't remember, I was younger at the time. Maybe I just was less aware. But when Clinton was getting impeached, I don't remember him forbidding people to testify when they got a subpoena.
Nobody ever has.
Anybody skipping a subpoena, not showing up when they're supposed to. I really don't remember that.
Didn't happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if it happened under Nixon.
No, he did try to obstruct the media. He did some shady shit,
Yeah,
but not that
did he
shady.
tell his staff to ignore subpoenas?
No, I think he ignored a subpoena, and they say that was the nail in his coffin right there. When he did that, it was pretty much over. They had him on obstruction.
Okay, so what's going to happen when Trump ignores a subpoena, which you know he will?
I don't know, we're in a whole different universe. I'm telling you, man. Back a decade or so ago, when some Swedish scientists made a microscopic black hole here on Earth, I thought it was a bad idea. It seemed like nothing went wrong. I think we got sucked into an alternate universe, backwards fucking land, opposite of land.
Yeah, and the aliens are laughing at us.
Yeah, in both universes.
They're just looking at us from their ships, going, "What the hell are these people doing? Let's not invade this planet."
Yeah, let's quarantine these fucking space tards. It's a beautiful day, and we're pretty typically here 5 days a week, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's Tuesday, so we're going to be back at 5. Be an epic show.
Probably
oh my God, we've been working.
well.
Yeah, we'll probably be inside again, so we'll be all quiet, and with our kid playing Xbox in the background or something. Scrolling. U.S. Navy awards its most expensive shipbuilding contract ever, probably to Trump's friends. Yeah.
I have some Breitbart stuff.
Breitbart, those wacky folk at Breitbart, where the fascist bastards sing now.
Okay, so their top story is Kamala quits. Trump versus Biden. It's like some poll, urgent national poll. Trump versus Biden. And we got Dems consider overcharging Trump with multiple impeachment articles. Overcharging. 4 questions Republicans should ask experts. Fusion GPS leaders. I'm not going to do this thing. Commie cash crunch. NBA TV ratings collapse. Okay, so now remember when they were like opposed to the NFL because of Colin Kaepernick, and they would always post stories about how like nobody's watching the NFL anymore and the game. So now it's the NBA. NBA TV ratings collapse. Is it the LeBron?
That's some bullshit. Yeah. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know. Let's see. Hillary says she's deluged with requests to run again. New York Times begs SCOTUS, throw out case instead of ruling against gun control. Court. Deutsche Bank must turn over Trump financial records to Democrats. And he's done this, like, he's appealed it several times. And every single court has said that he's got to turn them over. Like, I mean, I know he's got some guys on the bench, but it would be like really unprecedented if all these lower courts all ruled the same thing and all was. I mean, the Supreme Court. I mean, they do have some degree of respect for the lower courts, and the appeals courts. You know, they're not gonna completely overturn something that like 5 or 6 different courts have already said needs to happen. I don't think. I mean, like you said, we're in new territory, so who knows? But I feel like if all these lower courts, and then at what point is it? I mean, can they just say that they're refusing to hear it? I mean, they're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
It's not like I can have some sort of lawsuit and I just keep appealing and appealing and appealing. And I mean, at some point, I have to follow their decision. You don't just get to keep appealing for the rest of your life until you die.
Yeah, but that's that's usually how the rich avoid ever going to court. They just delay until the other side dies of old age. But it's not going to work here.
Okay, let's see. So Trump says Democrats are very unpatriotic,
Very.
rushing impeachment during NATO meetings.
This thing's been scheduled forever, and they said they're going to make their decision before Christmas.
And he's the one who's always talking smack about NATO, and now all of a sudden we're being disrespectful.
And now there's this talk about censoring him. Like, what would that be? And apparently they can do it right away, but the House can censor the president. Censure, yeah. What do they do?
It's kind of like a rebuke. I mean, it doesn't really have any teeth or anything, but censure is just basically you're, rebuking him.
I was hoping we could censor him and keep him from talking. Oh, we just keep him from talking.
Yeah.
You're censored just every time he opens his mouth.
Well,
Across his
because
mouth.
He always have Fox, and everybody will watch that because it'll be the only network that's not censoring him. So I don't know how we would get out of that one. Like, if everybody agreed to censor him, that's great, but you're going to have, the Breitbarts and the Fox News and the Tucker Carlsons who aren't going to do it. Period.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have?
Trump in London says Schiff is a
Still Breitbart.
says Schiff is a deranged maniac with a complex.
Oh, man. Pot meat kettle.
Warren would force small businesses to publish workers' schedules weeks in advance. Imagine that.
Wow.
Female fans engage in MMA-style brawl at NFL game. Okay. Report. Enough guns sold on Black Friday to arm every Marine. I guess they think it's good. Here's a thing of Alyssa Milano. She says, Milano says it's fucking upsetting I can't allow my son to listen to our misogynistic POTUS. Some rapper thing. Do you remember, were we talking about how that rapper was saying that he takes his daughter to the gynecologist every year to make sure her virginity is intact? Did we talk about that?
Like that, yeah.
So now this says, so his remarks led a New York bill to ban virginity tests. And look how they spell ban.
Oh, my God.
They spelled ban, B-A-N-N.
It's like bar.
It's like, spell check would stop that, but it's always the bad spellers who don't use spell check. The good spellers, like myself, I've never let a document go, saved it, without doing a spell check.
I was just watching our 9-year-old typing an email to his teacher, which apparently they learn in school now, and a little blue line appeared under the word, and he knew something was wrong, and he backed it out and fixed the damn thing.
Yep. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. Praising Brexit and Boris, Trump insists he won't interfere in UK election. Trump says no NHS on negotiating table, even if it's served on a silver platter. Again, very unpatriotic for running impeachment during NATO, which...
Unpatriotic. Russia's our friend.
Oh, wow. So, that billionaire who's running for president, Tom Steyer?
Yeah.
He just qualified for the December debate, and you have to have, the numbers have to be up to a certain level.
He's the need to impeach guy, right? Is that the guy who's been running the need to impeach movement for like a year?
I get emails from his people or whatever, probably. Yeah. But he's got enough support to, I don't think he's going to win either, but he's got enough support to qualify for the debates, which is crazy.
I'd like to see him debate, I guess.
Biden accuses Buttigieg of lifting healthcare plan. He stole it. The Republican National Committee is saying impeachment is breaking fundraising records every month. God. So a pro-Trump group launches End the Witch Hunt anti-impeachment ads.
Ooh, that ought to do it. Now that they're done.
Impeachment feels like, okay, so somebody from the Washington Post said impeachment feels like Kavanaugh 2.0. These pages. Newsweek demotes editor of fake Trump story. Meg McCain says Kellyanne and George Conway have a really sick relationship. It's gross. We've always wondered about how, like, do they just have different bedrooms or something?
Yeah, I was just I was bored and I went on Twitter yesterday, and Kellyanne Conway said, I can't believe anybody would believe that we would need Ukraine's help to win an election. And her husband replied, and he says, well, your boss seemed to think so. I am right there in front of God and everybody, tweeting back and forth at each other. That only happens to me when I spell something wrong or something. My wife does that.
Do what?
Argues with me and gives me shit on Facebook. Never on Twitter though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To argue, it's either spelled right or it's spelled wrong. It's not a debate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. The Hong Kong stuff. Protesters in China. I'm going to skip over all that. Bus driver fined $11,000 for running over a rare tortoise. So they have that. Anti-Semitic attacks on the rise across Sweden. Muslim men beat Christian street preacher in Norway. Cinema suspends screening of gang movie after a man is stabbed. Oh yeah, but did they even 24 hours, less than 24 hours after we left New Orleans, there was a shooting on Canal Street, which is a pretty big. That particular area has a lot of hotels, and the trolleys go by there, and it's a popular part of New Orleans. And somebody at 3:30 in the morning, so luckily we're not out that late, especially when we have our kid with us, but somebody shot 10 people. Somehow nobody died. 2 people are in critical condition. I haven't read anything about it this morning, but first they said 11 victims, and then they said 10, and 2 are critical, and they don't have a suspect. So I don't know.
Yeah, how does that happen?
They said they have a person of interest.
They had, and I think they already let him go.
Yeah, because they weren't charging this person with anything. I'm not sure who they are and what they know and why they were a person of interest. But this shooter is, I don't know, on the loose.
Yeah. Well, what I know is we got to go. We got stuff to do, people. We don't have time to sit around bantering with you all day. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the most epic Widdershins broadcast ever. Because by then, we will figure out what we're going to do on the show. See you next time, y'all.